We begin tonight with President Buhari seeking concerted efforts in the fight against the devastating effects of climate change, promising to build a climate-resilient economy.
The effect of climate change is already with us in Nigeria, manifesting in various ways: conflict trigger, food insecurity, drying up of lakes, loss of livelihood, and youth migration, among others. The trend is the same in many other countries that are threatened by forest fires, rising seas, drought, and desertification.
Well, for more on this, we're now being joined by Paddy Ezeala. And of course, Paddy, thank you so much for being here tonight in the studio. You know what?
Thank you very much.
Beyond President Muhammad Buhari, this particular United Nations General Assembly saw a lot of talk concerning climate change and its devastating impact. But beyond all the talk, have we seen enough push by every one of us as humans really protecting the climate?
Yes, it's gratifying that issues of climate change or environment generally has found its way into presidential addresses. It was not even like that before. The president has always shown interest in mobilizing Nigerians towards climate action. You remember on the 23rd of September 2019, at the Climate Action Summit in the United Nations, he promised to mobilize Nigerian youths, 25 million, to mobilize Nigerian youths to plant 25 million trees. Yeah. There has been some effort, but I do not think that since then 25 million trees have been planted. That is where the problem lies. The commitment is there, the political will is there, but between that time and now, many things have happened. The pandemic, the economic downturn, and all that. It is good to say, between then and now, the number of national parks in Nigeria, forest reserves, national parks, protected areas, they have created 10 new ones, in addition to the 7 they had before. It's part of action to ensure that the forests are conserved. But they've not fully taken off. The forests are still being depleted all over the country. Between 1981 and year 2000, Nigeria lost 3.7 million hectares of forest. And the trend had continued at 3.5% annually till today. Not much has been done. But with regard to effects of climate change, which principally in Nigeria is desertification, there is the Great Green Wall project, which is being supported fully by the government and some other international agencies. They are working. But whether they're putting in their best, whether the results have started showing, I'm not in a position to say that.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, one of the greatest problems of climate change in Nigeria is the drying up of Lake Chad and some other wetlands. It affects livelihoods. When they say climate change affects livelihoods, people's resilience should be built, mitigation should take place. Lake Chad is a classical example. It's a real example that if we don't get it right there, a whole economy, local economy, 30 million lives, 30 million people dependent on Lake Chad have been affected. We are talking about increasing number of people below the poverty line in Nigeria. It's one of the causes. Livelihoods are affected. Flooding is another one. All the way in Kebbi State, everywhere, farmlands are being eroded. It's another one. Even the insecurity we are fighting in Nigeria, some of them, climate change is implicated in movements of people to places they are not supposed to be, and conflicts all over the place. So, but the government is doing, but I wouldn't stay here and say that they are doing their best, that they are solving the problem. There are a lot of issues.
Yeah, the gaps are so many, because I remember then, about 2 decades ago, Elder Jubu, Newton, yes, who used to, ride his bike to the Sahara Desert and pointing out, the dangers and the consequences of, the Sahel encroaching very fast into Nigeria. It looks as if there is not been a concerted effort. If government has its policy, what are other stakeholders, the private sector, doing? I mean, it took a man to highlight some of these dangers more than 2 decades ago.
Yes, Chief Newton Jibuna himself was a key player in the private sector before he made counter desertification activities his principal role. He drove, not back to north, he drove from Nigeria to the UK, seeing the effect of desertification and raised the alarm in good time for things to be done. But unfortunately, we didn't start acting at that time. This is the first government that should be
How can we act now? Because Mr. President raised the concern, at UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly, the devastating effect, the poverty that it's causing, the shrinking of the economies of this country, and of course, insecurity and terrorism that all the environmental conspiracies are causing.
You can start acting now that you've understood what the problems are. There are existing agencies to tackle each of these problems the president has already raised. So it is not only about creating agencies, it's about empowering the agencies to do the needful.
And taking it to the grassroots.
Exactly. We have a short-term intervention, mid-term, and even long-term intervention. And again, acting on people's mindset. For instance, if you're mobilizing the youth corpers, every youth corper in Nigeria should plant a tree and show us what the tree has done within 1 year before
at the end of the day, like you have said, even the Inspector General of Police a couple of days ago did actually find a nexus between climate change, crime, poverty, and even insecurity in the country. But beyond all of these policies and having all the agencies and what the government is doing, how can we as individuals make it our responsibility, knowing that the climate affects all of us? It doesn't matter your status in the society, beyond what the government is doing. Individual, owning the
individuals should first of all understand that we have to live in harmony with nature. Beginning from where we find ourselves. We should find trees around us. We should find flowers around us. We should make sure that we don't destroy the environment in whatever way. We should be protective of the environment, knowing fully well that our life is dependent on how well the environment is doing. You see, so people should plant trees. Private sector should mobilize and fund people who are interested in planting these trees. Not just planting of trees, also protecting existing ecosystems. See what I mean? So that is it's a complicated matter, but I'm quite happy that some people are acting. But I can say we are not acting enough, but we are acting.
Right.
Both the NGOs, the government, and individuals, we are acting, but we need to step up.
We see more people falling trees than planting them, because I do know that the last administration, there was a campaign, to provide clean gas for especially rural women. That we don't know how far-reaching that was really. But beyond policies and talk and all of that, empowering the rural community to understand that, this firewood that you're burning from falling off these trees is having more harm than
that is
doing any good for us.
Renewable Energy Master Plan and clean energy, and the government is involved in them. Even recently, I've noticed some action taking place, but we need to act fully. The clean stoves and all that, we have to do that, and especially the gender aspect of it, because women are at the center, the bulk of the food we eat in this country produced by rural farmers, and about 70 to 80% of rural farmers are women. And if you are doing any of these interventions without factoring in the gender, you are not going to really succeed. And again, there is this other advantages that come with rural intervention. You are going to improve the rural economy, you are going to attack the poverty situation in the country, and you're going to stop rural-urban migration and all that. So it's a whole gamut, a whole basket. So we are the individuals, corporate bodies, governments, NGOs are doing some things, but we have not really hit it.
So you're saying implementing gender climate action plan in Nigeria would really go a long way?
Well, if anything, you don't factor in the gender aspect of it, especially here in Africa, we are not going to achieve 100%.
All right, we'll still be interrogating other climatic issues, but let's, I don't know if it's time for a break now, but okay, let's go on to the next story now. In another vein, President Muhammadu Buhari says his country is committed, that's Nigeria, is committed to the ideals of a nuclear-free world. Buhari stated this while addressing the United Nations General Assembly.
Fully committed to nuclear non-proliferation and has always supported the view that it should involve all states. Disarmament conventions deserve the support of all states, small, large, nuclear, or non-nuclear. Nuclear weapons remain the ultimate agents of mass destruction, and their total elimination should be the final objective of all disarmament processes within the broad spectrum of goals being pursued by the United Nations. In this regard, Nigeria would participate actively in forthcoming review conference of nuclear prohibition treaty and also the first meeting of states parties to the landmark treaty on the provision of nuclear weapons, scheduled to take place within the first quarter of 2022.
Okay, we'll say have Paddy Ezeala here. He's an environmentalist. Paddy, you heard Mr. President there, his concern about the consequences of the climate change, non-nuclear proliferation, of weapons and even nuclear technology, which Nigeria and the nuclear center in Zaria says, it's going to be advantageous to us. We're talking of the other little things about nature and how man-made devastation is wreaking, so much dangers. What are your thoughts here and what the president is saying too?
Denuclearization is something every human being who loves humanity and environment must be happy about. But what has happened now is that nuclear, whether for weapons or for provision of energy and other things, is something one has to be very careful. It's not a question of having them, it's in whose hands are these things. So the president is right on target. We don't need it.
But we just signed a deal recently with Russia.
We signed a deal with Russia.
To help with our energy.
Yes, help with our energy. Yeah, the president has done it. Nigerian government has signed it to help with our energy, but you don't know whose hands it will enter. We are not energy competitive. That is one. We have deficiency in that aspect, and I do not blame anybody who decides to seek alternative energy sources. But I am only saying, as an environmentalist, that there is need to be careful in that, because the environmentalist is all about balancing economy and environment. There will always be that question anytime. If you are going to have more energy, as we need in Nigeria, it means that the economy will now go up and everybody will be happy about it. But it's not just about having the nuclear energy. It entails a lot of things, managing it, making sure that things don't go wrong. But whether we need more energy now, we need that for growth in our economy. We need that.
Okay, Paddy, well, there isn't much time. I was going to ask you about, China stopping the building of coal-fired plants around the world again, and that means the coal from Enugu Trough, around the savannah, down to Adamawa, would all be wasted,
One man's business, another man's poison.
Right. Paddy Ezeala, I would have to say thank you so much for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you very much. It's always been my pleasure.